Hi, I'm Dr. Ken Snyder, the dental director of the St. Vincent de Paul Charity Dental Clinic here in Phoenix, Arizona, where our mission is to give back the smiles to men, women, and children in our community who have no access to dental care whatsoever. Welcome to another edition of the Happiness Factor. Now, in the past, I mentioned these three, I call them God-given gifts of humor, laughter, and play. And we've explored on several of our podcasts laughter. And today I want to start in on humor a little bit and explore what we know about humor and how we can use it in our daily lives and what an important role it does play in our daily lives. Now, I mentioned before that studies have shown that when we're in the presence of another person, we actually laugh 6 times more often than we do when we're by ourselves. If we're in a group, we actually laugh 30 times more often than we would if we were by ourselves. Unfortunately, with texting and emails and Twitter and Instagram and all these things, our personal interaction with other people and with friends, neighbors, relatives, whoever, coworkers is actually kind of diminishing. Now, we can still use like certain slangs and certain acronyms or emojis and that to kind of spice up our messages with humor, but it's really not the same as eye-to-eye interaction or face-to-face contact. And as a result, many people are relying for their humor by watching sitcoms on TV, and that's pretty much what they get. Instead of, again, having interactions with our family, our friends, our coworkers, enjoying humor, enjoying a laugh here and there. So let me give you a definition of humor. And my definition of humor, well, first of all, let's say this. It's not just telling jokes and funny stories and things like that. That's a part of it, but a very, very small part of it. Humor is actually an attitude that life's meant to be fun, people are meant to be fun, everyday experiences are meant to be fun. I know many comedians in the line of work I was in when I was doing the lectures on humor, laughter, and play. I got to meet quite a few comedians. And most of them up on stage are very, very funny people, very creative, very humorous. Unfortunately, many of them, not all, but many of them off stage, their life is a wreck. In fact, I kind of think that sometimes the humor was the way they could cope with all the kind of disarray that was going on in their lives. And we see this, people like John Belushi, Chris Farley, Robin Williams, how many of these funny, creative people who have made us laugh for years, and then their life ends up in a mess, in a tragedy. So if you can remember one thing from this podcast, this would be it. It's more important to have fun than to be funny. Let me go ahead and repeat that. It's more important to have fun than to be funny. I want to ask you a question. And answer honestly, do you consider yourself to have a sense of humor? In the workshops I did in the past, I'd often ask that question. And it was interesting because especially if it was a group of people who worked together or knew each other, as opposed to, just an open enrollment type situation, I'd say, how many of you consider yourselves to have a sense of humor? Raise your hand. And we'd see hands go up. And, I'd always notice some people kind of looking over like, him, he has a sense of humor, or her? I mean, since when? And we all know people who go around all day long dead serious. We also know people who walk around all day long just plain dead. If you look at the expression on their face and their demeanor, they look like they're in pain. And humor is the perfect antidote for that. Now, another thing, humor is very personal. And that's one of the problems we have with research. And what's funny to one person is not necessarily funny to another. Again, years ago, I would be on quite a few radio stations, on programs. And invariably, someone would call in and they'd say, do you know that, and this is just an example, do you know that sitcom Seinfeld? And I'd say, yeah, I'm aware of it. I've seen it, but it could be any sitcom. It was different ones, different call-ins. And they'd say, do you think that's funny? Now, I know right away that was kind of a loaded question. And I would say, well, I've seen it. Yeah, I enjoy it. Why? Why do you ask? And they go, well, my husband or my wife, they love that show. They watch it every night before we go to bed. I can't stand it. I don't understand. What do those people do for a living? I mean, it just seems like they're have no desire. They have no initiative. They're kind of rude and shallow. And I can't stand that show. But my husband will watch it every single night. And then we go to bed, he sleeps like a baby. And I'm up all night kind of upset because that's what we did right before we went to bed. So humor is very personal. One of the ways to describe your own personal style of humor is to answer a few of these questions. I call it finding your funny bone. First of all, ask yourself, and you can jot these down if you want, who is your favorite comedian? Why? And you can pick several, male, female, whatever, but just ask yourself why. What is it about that person or, whatever they present that kind of tickles your funny bone? Secondly, who is your favorite humorous writer? What authors do you enjoy reading because of their humor? Another question to ask yourself is what makes you laugh out loud? And if you can't think right off the bat, the next couple days or so, just stop. Every time you laugh out loud, think, wow, why did I do that? And then the other thing, of course, is what makes you chuckle on the inside. And then if you want to go so far, most people, the newspapers are kind of a thing of the past, but at one time we all had our favorite cartoons. They couldn't wait for the funny section, we called it, to come to comics to read our favorite cartoons. And if that's still the case, ask yourself, who are some of your favorite cartoonists and why? What is it about their work that tickles your funny bone? So here's the thing. In reality, humor is everywhere. We just have to be on the lookout for it. Two things I'd like you to do. One, carry around with you a little notebook, one that fits into your pocket, your purse, whatever. And every time something funny happens, write it down. Just make a little, just a little note about it. You don't have to write the whole thing out. And I'd like you to do that for a week or even up to 10 days. And you may only have to do it for a few days. And after a while, you won't even have to write it down. You'll just be on the lookout for humor. Because again, humor is everywhere. The second thing is get yourself a little manila folder, or you can make a folder on your desktop and collect favorite cartoons, witty sayings, little funny quotes, things like that, put them into the folder. And from time to time, go ahead and look at that folder. And again, it'll help you to develop your sense of humor and to think of funny things. Now, one of the reasons why, and kids all have, they're not afraid to show their humor, to laugh freely, to see the humor and everything. One of the reasons why we adults don't express our humor is what I call FOF, or fear of foolishness. This is why we don't use our sense of humor. We don't continue to develop it. It kind of keeps us trapped inside our serious self. It keeps us from being more creative and liberated from our inhibitions. And so it also keeps us from having a safeguard through humor to the stresses in life. They did a little experiment years ago, and what they did was they took people randomly, put them into group A and group B, and then they gave them cartoons, and they didn't have captions, and they wanted them to come up with captions for the cartoons. Now, before they got started, they gave group A 3 glasses of orange juice, and group B, they gave them 3 glasses of orange juice, but each had a shot of vodka. In essence, 3 screwdrivers. And what was interesting is group B came up with the funnier captions every single time. They'd get different people, switch the groups around, whatever, but the group that had the alcohol actually came up with the funnier captions every single time. And so often, we look for alcohol and different things like that to free us up from our inhibitions, from enjoying and being funny, but we actually don't need to do that. And kids know that. Kids are funny. They enjoy humor. They have a great sense of humor, and they don't need the alcohol or drugs or anything else. Okay, I do want to touch before we leave on when is humor inappropriate. Okay. Again, when I would ask this question in the workshop, some people would raise their hand and say, at a funeral. But that's not necessarily true. I've been to funerals where they wanted it to be a celebration of life. I even had a friend who wanted me to officiate his funeral. And he wanted everyone to have a chance to get up and tell a funny story that they had as part of their relationship. And it was a great way to celebrate a life. Because, and if you think about it, good grieving includes all emotions, including the humor and the joy. Some people say ethnic jokes are out, put down humor, things like that. Again, I think today it's a lot more out than it ever was. But in my past, I worked on road crews where people of all nationalities, all races. I played on athletic teams, same thing. And it kind of bonded us together. The only thing that was kind of like a no-no was you never said anything bad about someone's mother or made a joke about them. Everything else was wide open, and it really bonded us. And, maybe that's inappropriate today, but in a sense, I'd almost like to see us get back to where we don't have such thin skins. We kind of enjoy laughing at ourselves along with others. Okay, let me talk about, so basically, my rule of thumb now is, can everyone enjoy? If someone's going to be upset about the joke or the humor, even if they are super sensitive, leave it out. When in doubt, leave it out. Two types of humor are things that are pretended to be humor but really aren't. One is sarcasm. Sarcasm is actually anger disguised as humor, and we're either ashamed or embarrassed or don't have the guts, so to speak, to show our anger, and so we try to mask it by using sarcasm. Teasing. That's actually a lack of self-esteem. What happens is, a person feels bad about themselves, and they think, if I can make someone else feel worse, maybe I'll feel better about myself, but it never works that way. You always still feel bad about yourself. So teasing is actually a form of a lack of self-esteem, and I'm trying to somehow make it seem like I'm superior to at least this person that's the brunt of the teasing. The rule of thumb, again, is, can everyone enjoy? When in doubt, leave it out. Now, in our next segment, we're going to talk about some tips on how you can develop your sense of humor. So again, thank you for joining us today on the Happiness Factor. If you would like to join us in our mission at St. Vincent de Paul, you can go on the website below, the St. Vincent de Paul donation site. If you would like to donate to dental, please designate that. Although there are many fine things we do at St. Vincent de Paul, and you'll see that on the website. We do feed, clothe, house, heal. That's kind of our motto, and we do all of those. So whichever one you would like to contribute to, they're all great things. The other thing is, if you do contribute to dental or to whatever, please say you saw us on the Happiness Factor and you heard about St. Vincent de Paul and the mission we have. And then finally, if you would, please press the like button, subscribe, and tell your friends about us. And so as your as your podcast dentist, as always, I have to tell you, be true to your teeth and they won't be false to you. Until next time on the Happiness Factor, take care and God bless.